Hello students, with this video I am starting this series of lectures for the subject Elements of Electrical Engineering. If we observe the syllabus of this subject, that is Electrical Engineering of Maharashtra Engineering Services, we find 4 chapters in it: DC circuits, AC circuits, 3-phase circuits, and the fourth one is the single phase transformer. Now I am going to hit the chapters one after another, and for which I will be uploading number of videos. Now in this video I am starting with the first chapter, that is DC circuits, and the first term to be defined is the electric current. Now the flow of an electric charge constitute an electric current. So flow of the charge is called as an electric current. Now it is denoted by the letter I. So current is denoted by the letter I, and the formula which can be used for it is I is equal to Q divided by T, where Q is the charge in coulomb, T is the time. So if charge Q is in coulombs, T is in seconds, then we get the current in ampere. So SI unit of current is ampere. The smaller units used are milliampere and microampere. 1 milliampere is equal to 10 raised to minus 3 ampere, and 1 microampere is equal to 10 raised to minus 6 ampere. So that is about current. Now again, as the SI unit of current is ampere, the current of 1 ampere can be defined as that current when the current takes place when a charge of 1 coulomb flows through the conductor in 1 second. So charge of 1 coulomb flowing through the conductor in 1 second forms a current of 1 ampere. Now different types of electric current. Current can be classified into two types. One is called as direct current, second is called as alternating current. Now when electric current is to be considered, again electric current is a physical quantity, and we know that physical quantities are classified into two types. One is the scalar quantity, another is the vector quantity. Scalar quantity can be represented by its magnitude alone, whereas vector quantity requires magnitude as well as direction for its representation. Even though current has got a direction, it is not a vector quantity, but it is a scalar quantity, because electric current do not obey the laws of vector addition, and the resultant current can only or just be obtained by using the simple laws of algebra. So electric current, as it is classified into two types, again while dealing with the electric current, we will have to check its magnitude and we should know its direction, or which is called as polarity. In case of direct current, the magnitude of current may remain constant or it may change, but polarity remains same. Whereas in case of alternating current, the polarity of the current reverses. Now I have shown three graphs over here. Now current I has been plotted on y axis, and x axis or this horizontal axis represent the time. If the graph of current against time appears to be parallel to the time axis, it means that current is of constant magnitude, whereas its polarity is remaining same. It is moving in the same direction. Whereas I have shown two graphs over here. Now these two graphs indicate that the magnitude of the current is changing in both of the cases, whereas polarity is remain same. So what is important in these two cases is that magnitude may be changing, but the polarity remains same. Whereas in case of alternating current, the magnitude is the function of time. Magnitude changes with time. You can see that there is a change in the magnitude of the current at every instant, and the polarity of the current reverses periodically. So after some time, the polarity has been changing. It is opposite. So in case of alternating current, the polarity gets reversed periodically, whereas the magnitude of the current is the function of the time. So this is how the current through or current can be classified. Now we know that matter is available in nature in three states: solids, liquids and gases. The question is, can a current flow through solid? Can it flow in liquid? Or is it possible for current to flow through gases also? Now in order to explain it, I am just defining the flow of current in solids, liquids and gases. Now solids are classified into three types: conductors, semiconductors and insulators. Conductors. Now conductors are those materials in which there are large number of free electrons. Free electron is an electron which is also called as valence electron, which is the electron existing in the outermost orbit and is very loosely bound to the nucleus. Such electron can move from atom to atom inside the material, and that is why it is called as free electron. So some materials, mostly metals, for example silver, copper, gold, aluminum, so these materials contains large number of free electrons. Now if such material is subjected to an external electric field, these free electrons which are present inside these materials, means the conductors, start moving in a certain definite direction, which is nothing but an electric current. So in case of conductors, free electrons are responsible for the flow of current, and that is why free electrons are called as current carriers. So current carriers are free electrons in case of conductors. Now insulators. Insulators, now in case of these materials, the outer electrons in the outermost orbit are tightly bound to the nucleus in their parent atom. As such, these materials do not contain free electrons and there will not be any current carrier in insulators. As such, these resist the flow of current. In case of semiconductors, electrons and holes are considered as are considered as the current carriers. Now liquids. Some of the liquids which allow the current to pass through it and which dissociate into positive and negative ions are called as electrolytes. So electrolytes are the liquids which dissociate into positive and negative ions, and these positive and negative ions can move inside the liquid when an external electric field is applied to it, and the current can flow inside the liquid also, and which is because of dissociation into positive and negative ions. So positive and negative ions are called as current carriers in case of liquids. Gases. Generally, gases are considered to be insulators for electricity. Now, but at low pressure and if high potential difference is applied across the gas, gas gets ionized and positive ions takes place. Ionization means formation of positive ions. So positive ions and electrons are the current carriers in case of gases. Next term I want to define is potential difference. Now in order to define this term, I am considering another example. Suppose this is the earth's surface and there is a certain ball at certain height above the earth's surface. Now if this ball is raised higher and higher, what changes is its potential energy. So it is called as gravitational potential energy. So gravitational potential energy of a body depends upon its position above the earth. Now similarly, in any circuit, if we consider a unit charge and if it is at certain position, certain point in an electric circuit, it possesses an energy which is called as electrical potential energy, just like the gravitational potential energy, which is the function of the position of the object above the earth's surface. Similarly, the position of a unit charge in an electric circuit results in giving a electric potential energy to that charge. And if this charge moves from that position to some another position, so say initial position is A and the final position is B, so at position A it will have some electric potential energy, at B it will have some electric potential energy. Now in moving from one position, that is A, to the another position, that is B, it will lose some potential energy, which is electric potential energy. So this loss in electric potential energy is called as potential difference. So potential difference is defined as change in electric potential energy, which is to be measured in joules of the unit charge, which is to be measured in coulomb. So if change in potential energy is 1 joule of the charge, that is test charge or unit charge, which is in coulombs, then 1 joule per 1 coulomb is called as 1 volt. So volt is the SI unit of potential difference. Potential difference can also be defined as work done in moving a unit positive charge from one point to the another point. Ohm's law. Now it states that the potential difference across the ends of the conductor is directly proportional to the current flowing through it. Ohm's law is the most fundamental law. Mathematically, it can be stated as potential difference across the ends of the conductor is directly proportional to the current flowing through it. And it can be written as V is equal to I into R, where R is the constant of proportionality. Now this R is called as resistance of the material, and it depends on the nature of the material, dimensions of the conductor and its temperature. It do not depend upon values of V and I. So you should remember this. This Ohm's law can be verified by using voltmeter ammeter method. Now I have shown the figure. XY is the conductor, V is the voltmeter. In order to measure the voltage or potential difference across the conductor, it is connected in parallel with that conductor. Then A represents the ammeter. Rheostat, you know the rheostat, it is a variable resistance, and battery is connected over here. The key is shown over here at this position. When the key is pressed, the current starts flowing, and we can vary this resistance, and for different values of resistance we can measure the potential difference across the conductor as well as current by means of this ammeter, and this data can be plotted by means of a curve. So if potential difference is plotted along y-axis and current is plotted along x-axis, that is along the horizontal, the graph appears to be straight. So this straight line means the Ohm's law is getting obeyed, because the potential difference is directly proportional to the current flowing. Now if the temperature is varied, it may change. The higher the slope, it means that higher is the resistance of the material. So for this material B, the resistance is going to be higher because its slope is higher. For lower values of the slopes, the resistance is going to be smaller. Now if see, hereafter I am going to upload number of videos for electrical engineering. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe so that you will get the notification, and in order to get the notification early, please don't forget to press the bell icon. Thanks.